Hello and welcome to Scare Your Friends, the only podcast on the internet that makes you say, meh, that was okay.
What a fucking incredible intro. Put that on the Skillfully Circus fucking timeline.
Put that on the tent. We're putting it on the tent. This is imagine a restaurant doing that where it's like, this food will make you say, eh.
Yeah, Denny's.
You guys to walk away and just think.
Or Miller's Ale House. That's right, I'm calling you out, you fuckers. I hate your food.
Show him some respect.
Like the Walmart of like fucking restaurants.
The owner of Miller's Ale House is ripping his headphones out. What is this?
Fuck is this? This is bullshit.
Alright.
Speaking of slightly mediocre, today we have Dylan here.
Only slightly.
Dylan, would you like to say hello?
Excellent.
Dylan won't say
Hey,
hi.
Nate, want to say something?
Incredible.
Dan, do you want to say something?
I would like to say that I'm really hungry right now, and due to somebody getting food without me...
I'm sorry.
Oh, now he wants to speak! Now you want to speak! Oh, hello everyone.
All right, and of course, guess who's back? Back again. He's, he came back because he realized that he needed some friends to scare with.
Rub
We have William back.
Yeah, that's the reason I came back. Yep.
My foil.
Okay, before we start today's episode, I wanted to actually address something that I forgot to mention, Squidward Suicide, and then we're going to get to William's thoughts on Squidward Suicide, because I'm sure he has some interesting thoughts.
Don't
Can we
even
just-
do that
The first thing I want to say...
Can we, before we do that... Squidward Suicide!
No.
Do it.
Squidward Suicide.
Squidward Suicide.
Squidward Suicide...
We're probably going to use that for sound check from now on, guys, just to let you know, before we start
Good.
the
Yeah, go
recording.
behind the
Check
scenes.
1, 2, check 1, 2.
Okay, so first of all, Squidward Suicide actually was the very first creepypasta I ever read. So
Well, how did you not mention that?
I don't know how I didn't
first
mention that, but yes, I have mentioned that on the few forums that I post on, such as TooSpooky.com and
So
the
that's
Midnight Marinara forum,
So that's how
which
you
you should
pop
check out.
your pasta cherry with Squidward Suicide.
Let me ask you
That's
something.
how, yeah, I mean...
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Since you read that first, why the fuck did you continue reading creepypasta?
I
started with one of the worst
well,
ones.
here's the reason. I read that really early on and thought, oh, this is like a joke. But then I read, there's 3 stories I read that kind of got me into it.
Down the
first
rabbit hole.
First was No End House,
Okay.
then Abandoned by Disney, and then a story I will not mention because it is a story that broke my heart.
Which means we're probably going to do it eventually.
He gets very
Yep.
emotional with these.
But anyway, we will now cut to William as he tells us his thoughts. Now, William, after hearing about what we did without you, you decided to read the story on your own. What were your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I figured I'd see what I missed, and it was the worst thing. It's just awful. I was
Do you
disgusting.
want to go point by point, or
I read it like a couple of weeks ago, so I can't go point by point, but just the big picture was it was like gross shock. Like, when you're 12 and you think like, this will be cool if there's blood. Blood's
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
and
yeah.
scary,
Yeah.
right?
hyper realistic?
It just, the structure it was so awful. And I can't go into detail, I don't remember it, but the word hyper realistic kept coming up. That stuck with me. It was like, I don't know how to describe this.
Did you read the comments?
I did not.
Some of them, there were a lot of the comments were shitting all over that.
Good.
There was one that was like, hyperrealism is not something that occurs in moving images
Yeah,
or
we
something else. It's
discussed
like
that
some
we
other
discussed that on,
after we
yeah.
cut out after. It figures the one time Will's not here, we all agreed that it was shit.
Yeah, no, I would have been in agreement. Yeah.
Do you appreciate the past stories we read a little bit more now that you've read Squidward?
No.
That's stupid.
What a
All right.
dick!
Even though they were well-written stories that aren't,
Which
that.
one am I supposed to appreciate more?
I guess all
Oh
4.
wait, can we just?
I already
mention,
like 2 of them.
Can we mention also that the guy who does his voice got arrested?
Yeah, we cursed him.
God.
Like 3 days after we actually
did.
recorded the podcast, we
Right,
cursed
so that
him.
way we can date when it was.
Yeah, well,
recorded.
today there was a snowstorm this weekend, and the Super Bowl's tomorrow, so we can date that even more. But yeah, no, we kind of cursed him, and that was the first. I saw that story. It was like 3 days after we recorded Squidward Suicide, and that was the first thing I texted you guys. I sent you all the link on Facebook.
Right. Well, this is a good segue because we did Squidward Suicide. We're going to do another lost episode pasta.
Oh no!
This one is titled "The Legend of I'm a Wiener."
Alright, is that true?
Did you say I'm a wiener?
Yes, because it's a Simpsons joke. We're reading Dead Bart.
All right.
Yes, the only Simpsons joke I know, and I used it.
Wasn't that
That's in
a?
the movie.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You never
I'm looking at we're watching
treasure it.
Simpsons.
Wasn't Dead Bart a Super Nintendo game or?
Nope.
Okay.
Dead Bart? No, look, okay.
I was talking about Bart's Nightmare. which is a
You'll
terrible
never
game.
find where the treasure.
Speaking of which, I'm ready for some messed up shit. I've been playing Bloodborne all week, so nightmares ahoy. Let's do it.
Not good for you?
Oh, wonderful!
Oh my god!
Please use that as the YouTube.
This is what they're looking at, boys and girls, so this is what they have to look forward to.
Yeah.
So, like Squidward Suicide, there is one more Creepypasta lost episode that stands out among all the lost episode Creepypastas, and I figured since we have Squidward Suicide in the mind, and because this story is inevitably going to be reviewed here, I figured just do it right afterwards.
I'm carrying so much negative baggage into this review, you have no idea.
Well, that's good.
You sound a little haggard today, Will.
So, Dead Bart is the story about what, ladies and gentlemen?
The fuck are you asking us? We haven't read it yet.
Well, I always do this. It's the pregame. The pregame.
Will's got the sauce today.
Yeah, I'm not feeling
He's got the sauce with the pasta.
I'm not feeling last
Heyo.
episode.
Hey.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
Fucking dumb.
That's
It's
why I
weird-
get
it's
all the
weird
reviews.
We're doing a creepypasta on Dead
Dead Bart.
Bart. And
Dead
they always
fart.
do the Halloween thing
Nice.
on
Treehouse of Horror is like the only thing that I'll watch.
yeah, with Simpsons.
Like that's like remotely entertaining at least.
Yeah, I mean, the Simpsons are funny. That's all I got.
Don't have it count, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
is
don't have a
anybody-
nostalgic trip with.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Simpsons,
Like, is
with
anybody a
SpongeBob.
huge Simpsons fan here?
Yeah, I
'Cause
don't think anyone in this room.
I wasn't going to do this story, but I decided that if it was going to be covered, it had to be after Squidward Suicide.
So I guess
Okay.
we don't have the same kind of like
Nope.
interest going in that maybe you guys did with SpongeBob.
Now, as
So it's gonna be
usual, I have read this story. I have my own opinions of it. I have positive and negative things to say about it, much like Squidward Suicide. And I think comparing this one to Squidward Suicide is going to be very critical, because two lost episode creepypastas that are the most well-known, there's some that one does right, some that the other does right a little bit better, and I will be showing that as we read the story called Dead Bart. Does any last thoughts before we start reading?
Man,
O'Doyle
Bart's dead.
rules.
The Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl.
Yay!
Yay!
How to date this? Anything to add?
Waiting for
Either
Dylan's
you
second
two.
thoughts on that.
Dylan's trying to. We're trying to.
I'm
We were trying to do this
Did
behind
you
the
hear that,
scenes.
Dylan? That's all the backspace
We were
buttons being
trying-
hit out of this episode.
We were trying to do this
I'm
behind the
trying
scenes, but
to
because
keep my calm, because
yeah.
I don't keep my calm.
Let's not talk about the Broncos, because he's going to get
There's
angry.
a little bit of
No, he's-
technical whatnot's going on.
he's,
John,
he's
just
trying.
Here's what you
Yeah,
guys need to
we're
know.
trying to connect the internet.
No,
so
we're
I
not
can pull
doing-
up the story on
sorry.
my phone.
just
All right,
just
I'm gonna start reading.
Just start it
Yeah,
off.
yeah, yeah.
Get going.
All right,
I don't
so
know.
here is Dead Bart. You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from Season 1. Finding details about this missing episode is difficult. No one who is working on the show at the time likes to talk about it. From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt. What's his name? Matt.
Groining,
Groening,
something like that.
Matt Groening. During production of the first season, Matt had acted strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous, and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present results in them getting very angry and forbidding you to ever mention it to Matt.
Okay, like me today. All right. Okay. I first heard of it at an event where David Silverman was speaking. Someone in the crowd asked about the episode, and Silverman simply left the stage, ending the presentation hours early. The episode's production number was 7G06. The title was Dead Bart. The episode was labeled 7G06. Moaning Lisa was made later and given Dead Bart's production code to hide the latter's existence. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who is on the show about this will cause them to do everything they can to stop you from directly communicating with Matt Groening. At a fan event, I managed to follow him after he spoke to the crowd and eventually had a chance to talk to him alone while he was leaving the building. He didn't seem upset that I had followed him, probably expected a typical encounter with an obsessive fan. When I mentioned the lost episode, though, all color drained from his face and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me never to mention the episode again. Okay.
So, one thing I do know about The Simpsons that might be relevant is that season 1 animation of The Simpsons wasn't as good as the next.
It's pretty.
seasons.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
rough.
Yeah.
So, one believable aspect is the idea of like a rough animation style, which we will later get on with.
Can I just say this is not how people act at all?
Yes. So,
Holy shit.
What do
right
you
off the
This
bat,
is like a caricature of a human being.
listen.
Like it's, oh, scary, he's gonna be trembling if you say one word. Who, you say one word and the color drains from their face and they start trembling? Like, it doesn't...
Well, it's
I just...
it's a creepypasta.
Listen, here's the thing. Remember,
Oh.
there is a certain aspect in Lost Episodes that's incredibly important, which is almost important as the twist, and that is explaining your reasoning for why this Lost Episode exists and why it's not known. Squidward Suicide did a perfect job of
I was
explaining
about
the
to
exact
say, for as horrible as that was...
The setup was fantastic.
It was brief and natural, and it wasn't
Yeah,
weirding me out.
It even explained why they didn't get freaked out at the sight of Squidward Suicide because of the joke title cards.
This, he follows him into an alleyway after
Yeah,
a
this
fan
this
event.
setup's actually a lot
And,
better.
in
than-
Squidward Suicide.
Yeah, in Squidward Suicide. Yeah.
See,
This
I'm
is
gonna-
like some
it's an
asshole
old
that's
show.
like, I like The Simpsons, and for some reason I know about this episode,
Yeah.
but nobody wants to talk
Right.
about it.
Also, it's like a cardinal sin to mention the creator of a show. That's what killed. That's one of the main things that killed Squidward Suicide. They mentioned the creator of the show at one point that he had to come in. They called him up, and this guy worth $90 million is just I'll head to the intern's room to view this thing. I don't have anyone else to view.
Yeah,
this
it's
with.
not. Yeah, it's not.
By
very
the way,
realistic.
if you haven't watched episode 5, you might want to watch that because we're going to be discussing Squidward Suicide with Dead Bart at times.
it's really good.
Spoiler alert.
It's really
All right,
good.
Lloyd.
Alright. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I would rather not say what it was, for reasons you'll see in a second.
Yep, stop. That's a killer. Like, seriously,
Yeah,
if you
it's
had an address,
stupid.
you could fucking verify your story the moment you post that. Seriously, this story would be, true if this was,
Yeah, but I mean that's part of it.
Right.
There's
But,
a way to write fiction and not make it super transparently fiction.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And this
yeah,
person
yeah.
is doing the direct opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I entered the address into my browser, and I came to a site that was completely black.
Normalpornfornormalpeople.com.
Except for a line of yellow text, a download link. I clicked it, and the file started downloading. A brave man. Once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I'd ever seen. System restore didn't work. The entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this, though, I copied the file onto a CD. I tried to open it on my now empty computer, and as I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. This is... Whew.
Did I give you your phone, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
This is already...
Right?
I'm already not
This
digging
hurts.
this.
Yeah,
Hey,
no,
listen. First of all, well, this is hitting home a little bit for me as somebody who's destroyed multiple computers with downloaded pornography. I'm going to say this right now.
I love how your eyebrow,
this is-
cocked a little bit. Listen,
I'm
an
an
expert.
connoisseur of this.
I'm a
stuff.
connoisseur of all sorts of illegal porn activities.
Already this is again one of those things where why would you do that? Hey, I downloaded something and it destroyed my computer, but luckily I copied it onto a disc.
Right, and compared to Squidward... And again,
Yeah.
seriously, right now, if you're comparing the two Lost Episodes, Squidward Suicide's winning as far as the
Yeah,
beginning.
Squidward Suicide, fucking
blowing this out
is
of
like
the
the
water so
Shawshank
far.
Redemption compared to
I mean, and also, can we just roll it back real quick and remember that he got this website because Matt Groening
Right.
wrote it on a piece of
or
paper
whatever.
for him.
Yeah, whatever. However, we're probably
Just-
pronouncing that very wrong.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But wow.
All right.
Wow.
And it was actually the first episode of Futurama, way before.
What? Okay. The episode started off like any other episode, but had very poor quality animation. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, it was similar, but less stable. The first act was fairly normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer seemed angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa seemed anxious, Bart seemed to have genuine anger and hatred for his parents.
Pause. So, again, this is the first part where I'm okay with this. The poor quality animation. Season 1 already had, poorer animation than than the later ones. So the idea of an unfinished Lost episode that didn't get released, to have kind of chunky, or I don't know what the word is for it, but very
Choppy would
choppy.
be
choppy. Yeah, not chunky. Choppy.
chunky
Animation.
Chunky Kong.
But yeah, I mean that makes
sauce is chunky.
Yeah, but see, the thing with this though, this part actually describing the characters. We all had a mini heart attack because I almost kicked the mic off the goddamn stand. This part, John's gonna cry.
John's vomiting in the
This part of the pasta is actually quasi believable. Relax. Because with first seasons of
guys, I just walked out. What happened? What happened?
With first
I thought I saw the
seasons-
mic almost drop.
With first seasons of any show, usually the characters are not the way they seem. So this is probably the most believable part of this so far because they're still fleshing out the characters.
That actually hit
At
me
this
too.
point,
I was
yeah.
saying the exact same
Like, because
thing.
even if just not to get too off base, but like if you watch like the first season of Parks and Rec, a lot of those characters are very
God.
different. Like Ron Swanson plays like video games on his computer and shit. They're very different characters that they don't get into the mold until halfway through the season or second season. So this is probably the most believable part of the story so far.
All right,
Yeah.
do you want to continue reading, Nate?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of that first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around, as you'd expect. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane and was sucked out.
Well,
This sounds like a Peter Griffin story. That's what it sounds like.
Then he
Really?
fights a chicken on the outside of the airplane.
There's someone on the wing.
I want to start going.
At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of the Simpsons world represented life, and that death turned things more realistic. This was used in this episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. They took full advantage of it not having to move, and made an almost photorealistic drawing of his dead body.
So first of all, photorealistic,
God damn it.
way better than hyperrealistic because it makes
hyperrealistic.
sense.
Yeah,
Second, already
No, it's not better. You know
This is
why?
better.
If you use the word realistic to describe something, all you're saying is you don't know how to describe it.
no,
That's
photorealistic's a real thing. That's a
No,
real
no,
thing.
no, no, no. If you're telling a story and you want to paint a picture in the reader's mind, you do not use the word realistic
He's
All right,
got a
to
point.
fine.
describe
He's
something.
got a
Fuck
point.
you, Will.
Fine, but the way that Bart dies, and it's pretty quickly like it's not like with Squidward where it's screaming children and
That
shotgun.
was unbelievably awful.
Unbelievable. But this, I could see this happening. I could see an episode where Bart gets, more cartoony than him dying, but him getting sucked out of a plane.
This reminds me of that like the 3D episode they did with Homer when he was in the computer. Like
Also-
I watched it like on again, off again.
Also,
when I was a
Bart
kid.
dies in the context of a Simpsons episode. Squidward has all this extra bullshit happening
That's true.
outside, where
That's
it's like dying children and weird screaming.
bloody children's body.
The weird,
And then we had to rewind it and go frame by frame.
the weird thing is like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought now. Oh, I feel like I've heard this story before, and I don't remember where. All of this
I
is
did.
starting to sound familiar,
Okay.
like this actual creepypasta, and
Squidward Suicide?
I don't know. No. Stop, you dick. I'm talking about this actual story in context. Like for some reason, this sounds really familiar to me. I don't know why.
Wait, Dan, have you seen the lost episode?
Maybe. I don't
Oh
know.
my
Whoa.
gosh.
Spoiler alert! I'm the author of this creepypasta.
Oh my god.
Oh, speaking of which, do we know who the author is of this one?
The author's name is K.I. Simpson.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's who's credited. That's
Okay.
the pen name, K.I. Simpson.
Is he subscribed to the
He
channel?
or she? No.
No.
K.I. Simpson.
Shout out to Midnight Marinara. I don't know.
That came out of nowhere.
Cause creepypasta guys. I figured.
Well, I introduced you to a concept, and now you want to get in with
Dude,
all
I'm
the
fucking-
big.
I'm
You want to get in with all the big
Well,
fish.
I'm fucking tired. I'm turning into Dylan right now. This is fun.
Whether it be ZD or Penny, pasta guys stick together.
Jesus Christ.
God.
You are Dylan.
You're relieved.
You
it's
and
fine.
Dylan have become one.
Please kill
No,
me.
Dane, you're relieved now.
All right, I'm gonna keep reading this.
And eat.
Oh, I don't.
Okay, so it just showed a photorealistic of the dead body of Bart. Act 1 ended with a shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at their table crying. The crying went on and on. It got more pained and sounded more realistic. Better acting than you
Zing
think
words.
possible.
Triggered.
The animation started to decay as they cried even more, and you could hear murmuring in the background. The characters could barely be made out. They were stretching and blurring. They looked like deformed shadows with random bright colors thrown on them. There were faces looking in the window, flashing in and out, so you were never sure what they looked like. The crying went on for all of Act 2. I won't go to Act 3 yet. So, and I'm not going to spoil why I totally don't dislike this, but obviously it could be written a little bit better, but I have a reason for why I do actually like the idea of this. It's going to be revealed at the end.
This is rapidly descending into 12-year-old shock territory.
Not so much yet, because they didn't really describe like how gross the body was. And...
I thought.
Okay.
We're actually almost at the end, believe it or not.
I thought Bart was gonna get killed by Homer. In my opinion.
Okay.
Strangle him.
Act 3 opened with the title card saying 1 year had passed. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. Here we go. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted, and as they walked to the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. They looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of the tombstone, looking just like it did at the end of Act 1. The family started crying again. Eventually they stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to summary, Homer tells a joke at this point, but it isn't audible in the version I saw. You can't tell what Homer is saying. Oh shit. I didn't know this was touchscreen. There you go.
The view zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them. Some that no one had heard of in 1989, some that haven't been on the show yet. All of them had death dates on them. For guests who died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison, the dates were when they would die. The credits were completely silent and seemed handwritten. The final image was the Simpsons family on their couch, like in the intros, but all drawn in hyper-realistic, lifeless style of Bart's corpse. A thought occurred to me after seeing the episode for the first time. You could try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. All of their deaths are listed as the same date. The end.
That's it?
There's a short story.
That's the twist.
It's short.
This fucking
That's what
sucks.
she said.
You didn't like it?
This one was shit.
But now
This one was worse than Squidward
we've
Suicide.
begun
You
to
really think
unveil
so?
the assassin conspiracy against Simpson guest stars.
Like, why was that necessary?
It was a twist. It's a
But that was
dramatic
completely
twist.
unnecessary.
What
No, it's necessary.
No, it's not.
All the guest stars are predicted to die on the same day.
Like an apocalypse thing. Or they all just die on some random date.
That's fuck. That
It's
first
like-
of all added nothing to the story.
That was a Goosebumps ass ending if I've ever
It
heard
wasn't
one.
even
Wait,
that.
season
It was just.
one of
It felt like it didn't know how to. They didn't know how
That
to
was
end
like-
it.
What?
What year was Simpsons?
89. It said
89?
something like that.
I mean, the
88,
story
89.
said 89.
And they don't tell the date of when.
He said at the end that all the guest stars had death dates, and it was accurate for Michael Jackson. And
Even
others.
for people that like weren't even famous, like they
for
didn't
people
know.
who weren't dead, and he
Yeah.
said all the other dates were the same, which means like everyone's. I guess it's like predicting the apocalypse in the
So
Simpsons.
basically,
But what is that?
but here's the problem I see with it because everyone had this fucking thing with Y2K and shit. It's like, okay, now I don't find this anywhere. People, I'm like, okay, now you're
It
just
comes
saying,
out of left field. That's what I meant when I said Goosebumps.
Right.
Not like goofy so much, but just the out of nowhere. And then I squatted and laid an egg kind of ending.
Yeah,
I
like,
disagree.
Way
I'm
ridiculous.
going to disagree with you. And here's
Yeah.
why. Alright, so compared to Squidward Suicide, yes, the beginning of this episode, the explanation for how to get this episode, it sucked. It
Terrible.
sucked completely. But the episode itself, even though it has its problems, I really liked it. And the reason why I really like it is because think about the context of what happens to the Simpsons if Bart were to die. All you have are these characters, as they're crying at the table, they start blurring and stretching out. And at the very end, you have them walking to Bart's grave. The entire town of whatever it's called, Springfield is completely.
Seriously?
Springfield's fine. I don't watch Simpsons.
There goes the there goes
But
the
here's what
Simpsons
happens.
base.
This is what the story tells me. Without Bart there, the Simpsons do not exist, and all of the characters die.
I so wish I watched more Simpsons so I could tell you why you were wrong.
No, I'm right.
Why?
Because-
Because someone else on the internet said it?
No,
Have you ever
I-
watched The Simpsons?
I've watched.
How would you
no,
know?
I wouldn't watch Simpsons, but this is what it tells me. It tells me that when you have a character as big as Bart that dies, and you have all these characters crying for him.
Homer's the star of the
Yeah,
Simpsons.
but this is okay.
I'm hearing the
No, he's
rage
not.
of a
But
thousand.
this is
Simpsons
the
fans.
but this is the
not
first.
Yeah,
but
every-
this is-
One of them.
Apologies
wait.
to everyone who watches The Simpsons for
This is
real.
the first season. In context of the story, this is the first season. So how is that?
I'm talking about
prevalent?
meaning. Like, think of it this way:
But-
the
but
entire town is deserted after he dies
Why?
because the Simpsons don't exist anymore.
What
It's
does
about
that mean? Yes, they do. What do you're babbling nonsense.
I'm not babbling anything. That's just what it tells me. No, it has problems. I get that. I I like this more.
No, not problems. You're saying things that are nonsensical. Please
It's not
elaborate.
nonsensical.
It
No.
doesn't. What does that have to do with the pasta? Is what I'm asking you.
It's
Because,
an interesting. Okay, it does a lot of things that are interesting. I don't like
But
this
I don't
creepypasta.
think that's the
I don't like this
authorial
creepypasta.
intent.
Yeah, I think you're giving Ki buttfuck Simpson fan too much credit here.
All right.
I don't know. This
You can disagree with me. It's fine. But what I'm saying,
in terms of the story, the start is not great. It sort of feels rushed, and then there's just a lot of disconnected thoughts in this. Like Bart dies, and then they're at a table crying, and then they go to the grave,
look,
and
no,
then
no.
all the celebrities
I
are
think
predict. It's like, what does that
Watching
one
all
thing
the
have to do with the
Simpsons
other?
I've watched in the past, not a lot. Last time I checked, Bart gets strangled by his own father. So
That's true.
what?
That's true.
So okay, he's dead. I don't think Homer's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be crying.
It's just, and I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, no,
just
there's
seems
scenes where they
this-
like
this
each
is a
other,
series of
clearly.
disconnected horror story ideas.
I mean,
I think it's trying. If it's for viewers who actually seen the show more than ever, try to get that. Just
I mean,
that
that's a
little bit
fair-
of
You
emotion.
know what?
in
I
it.
think it is because we I think everyone's in agreement that we, as a group, have not seen a lot of Simpsons. Therefore, we
We need to get a
haven't-
Simpsons.
I've seen
section on the
enough
show.
to know this is a terrible story.
Well, besides that,
I'm not saying this is a great creepypasta. I am saying it's better than Squidward Suicide, though.
I
I put up there-
agree with you that it's better than Suicide.
Because all the
there
horror
was more
happens in.
substance, at least, and I feel like even though it was silly, stupid.
yeah. But when they said they had when I heard all the same death, I instantly thought of Y2K. I'm like,
I think with
can't
Dead
take it-
Bart, I
can't
like the
take it
episode
serious.
because it's an interesting
Look,
idea.
to compare the two,
There's a lot of
I'm-
interesting
I'm
but
ideas
gonna-
in the
but
episode.
the whole celebrities predicting death on an individual day that has
Well, that's
nothing
that's a
to
Simpsons
do
thing to
with.
do. They have a lot of. That's a thing that happens in The Simpsons. They have guest stars
But
that
that has
are
no-
actual
Okay,
Simpsons
everyone
characters.
has guest stars. That has nothing
Right,
to do with
you can
this.
take
same.
that aspect of
It
this.
is not the same.
You can
What
take
you're
that
saying makes no sense.
you can take that aspect out of the story and put it anywhere else in any story, and it would still make
John,
sense.
not
It wouldn't work in
John.
It won't work in SpongeBob.
John, we're
Not
not
like
talking
guest stars that become their own characters.
It doesn't work anywhere. Look,
Why not?
we're not talking about The Simpsons as a storytelling device. Bringing
It doesn't
this up
work.
out of nowhere.
Right.
Doesn't work
doesn't
on a
work.
Well, it's
fundamental
describing
narrative level.
It's describing an
It doesn't work.
episode that he saw or she saw. It's not supposed to be. There's
But
no
it-
plot.
we're
It's I
saying-
saw an episode.
We're saying
No,
it
but
doesn't
the-
work as a
John,
story
the
element
episode
in
is a
terms of being
plot.
creepy.
Come
I
on.
think you're trying to like look at this like an actual constructive classic literature story where it's like
No,
there's supposed to be
I
a
wanna-
beginning,
no,
a
no,
middle,
no,
and a conclusion.
No.
Every story should have a
No,
beginning, a
not
middle,
true.
and
Not in
conclusion.
creepypasta.
Except Barbie.avi.
creepypastas sometimes are bad.
No, there's a lot of creepypasta.
Like this one.
Yeah, I don't like. Look, I don't like this.
Barbie.avi was a gem, and don't you dare say anything about it.
it's a what?
A gem.
I
Oh,
don't.
is it Jam In?
I honestly,
What?
I liked Squidward Suicide more than this because
I put them as both as shit
at least
here.
there's some kind of substance to that. This was Bart dies, and then they're crying, and then
Yeah.
celebrities die, which has nothing to do with anything that has happened, and it was too short and too brief.
I mean, you're not
and,
looking
yeah.
at the visuals, but it's fine.
I mean, the reason I liked this more than Squidward Suicide, I'm gonna give a little more credit to this Bart's bullshit than Dan is. I felt that as like an episode, the idea of Bart dying isn't like necessarily a bad one. I mean, this author was clearly like, what if Bart died? That'd be a bummer. And then they wrote a little
Okay,
story
yeah,
about how
yeah.
Bart died, and it was a bummer for everyone. And that's fine. The idea of imposing real world consequence on a cartoon universe.
Oh, I also
isn't
think
like a bad idea.
I think Squidward dying is another cool,
But
like,
it's
interesting
not-
concept that just wasn't done
It
right.
works.
but
Yeah,
it's
it
not
wasn't about-
written well.
No,
It's
I
not
agree.
written well at
And the
all.
story
So there's
elements are just
nothing
weird.
gripping to it. And then the ending was obviously weird. Whereas Squidward was just like, the teen angst edge was just so strong with that one. It was agony to sit through. Whereas this wasn't that kind of cringe.
And plus, like, it's an adult show. There's gonna be people dying, and it's gonna be gory or whatever. Anyway, it's not really gonna be.
Well,
anything
not The
different.
Simpsons.
It's not hyperrealism. It's photorealism.
Both words are
There's that
stupid.
zing word.
Just, whew.
Zing.
We should do more of these lost episode ones because this is.
I'm not a big fan of lost episodes.
Neither am I.
Nope.
Yeah, they're not great.
I just figured we would do
They're
this
not
one
great.
after the Squidward Suicide
This
one
is
compare.
just awful.
All
It's
right.
not.
It makes
yeah.
me sad.
I feel like
can't even picture them being skinny. I still see Homer and Homer.
I feel
Okay.
like
Homer
I
has
feel
to be
like
fat,
with the lost episodes, I feel like the problem with these, just from what we've read, is that you have to work within an already established
It's not.
franchise or
yeah.
universe or whatever, and that limits the author, and that's why weird shit like this happens where the celebrities predicted blah, blah, blah. It's like this has nothing to do with
And also, to the kind of build on that, it shows the author's weaknesses a lot stronger because they're in an established universe with established good writers.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? So you hear a lost episode, you think, all right, if I'm supposed to think this is plausible, it must be written decently well.
Mhm.
And these episodes are always cringy and the worst.
Mhm.
So it hurts
I
even
think-
more.
Yes, Dylan.
I think everyone's forgotten that Family Guy did this with Brian. They killed off Brian.
Yeah, but that was a publicity
That
stunt.
was-
No, it's
I
a
know,
publicity
like,
stunt.
I understand that's a publicity stunt, but
That wasn't
people
supposed
were,
to be
like,
shock horror.
People were like upset about it, visibly upset about it.
Yeah, it's
I think it's
fair
like,
enough.
Like, maybe what would it be like if Bart was gone? Would they be
It's
upset?
Bart, what they did with Bart then.
But see, that was written by, like, writers of the show who know how to write.
Yeah.
I mean, Family Guy, whatever you think about it, they're professional writers,
Used to
so.
be.
They
Yeah, exactly.
They
You know,
reuse old,
either way, they
I saw
are...
it-
But you can argue the same thing about, listen, The Simpsons died a long time ago. Hey.
Yeah, and
Nice.
Family Guy saw an episode where Peter walks into the clam and just the meme guy is just there. There's just a thing. There's a meme.
Family
face.
Guy's just as bad now.
I don't
It
know
really
what
is.
happened in that
It
show.
really is.
Fox is making them continue it, and like, okay.
It's the same thing with The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's all Fox is
It's
doing.
not funny. There's like weird dark humor
I'm sure-
now, and it's
yeah.
it's
Because
not
Fox is like, okay, let's just keep it going. We want to keep it going because it's making us money. And the writers are like, we don't want to do this. But they keep getting dragged into doing
good.
it.
Just like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're cashing in
How
on
long
it.
is
Okay, back on the story.
It's like that. It's like that joke that they had in the crossover episode. How
I
long?
didn't even
How has
see
that guy been blowing you? 24 years. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
come on.
It is weird, yeah. One thing though, and I keep comparing it, but Dead Bart I think had a better episode than Squidward Suicide, where I think
Right,
Squidward
yeah.
Suicide had a much better beginning. I
Yep.
almost think if I can
Yes.
just combine those two things,
You'd have
It would be
a shitty story.
the best shitty story
I feel
ever.
here's
Because look, hey, you're giving him too much credit, because while Squidward has a better beginning, it's still kind of shit.
oh no, I hate that.
And while Bart has a better episode, it's still very shit. So, I mean, it's...
the thing.
I
the
think
thing-
there's redeemable qualities.
I'll tell
in
you.
the
I'll
Bart,
tell
but
you
I
what
don't like
I
it.
tell you what I like about this.
I think with you,
about
you have
Bart's
to go
Dead.
on one or two extremes with you.
I tell you what I like about Bart's
so.
Dead. I like that there's less supernatural bullshit than there
Yep.
was with Squidward
There's no
Suicide.
kids
Yeah,
dying.
yeah, the
or-
celebrity thing was thrown in at the end, but like not the fucking.
It's goofy.
But at
dumb.
least the celebrity thing is part of
we
the Simpsons.
checked.
No,
we
it isn't.
Yes, it is.
You're-
All
There
right,
absolutely is.
agree to disagree. We
absolutely
checked.
is.
What you're saying makes
We
no sense.
checked the
Oh my
footage
God.
and nothing was tampered with, and we did, and we didn't know what.
Well, there's no footage. It's just a guy.
Oh, but that was
the
the
whole
thing-
setting was stupid.
That
anyway.
was the thing with Squidward Suicide. We checked, there was no tampering, and blah, 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 we don't know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's fucking stupid. Like, at least this was like, okay, this is a lost episode, unlike a...
You guys understand why I don't like Lost episode creepypastas that
Oh, they're
much?
horrible.
I mean,
That's another
it's just
weird-
an important
that's
genre
another weird
that I
thing
have to cover. at some
about
point.
this. Like, there's a website that you can go to and watch this episode, and it's like, nobody would, like, leak that or, like, put that somewhere so other people could
But the
see it. Like,
virus
it's not
crashed his
believable
whole
enough.
computer. But he put it on a CD, luckily. It's just
Yeah.
like, oof.
Yeah, this was rough.
This was draining.
By the way, on bonuslives.com, toospooky.com, and the Midnight Marinara forum, I posted a poll about where I asked people which one I thought was
Why not a Swede?
what?
Why not Swede?
Shut up.
Get
Shut
out.
up. Shut up.
Ignore him.
Dylan, you
Oh
were
my god!
on
Oh my god! It's got it.
exceptionally thin
Oh
ice
my god!
today. If you
Dylan,
make
that was
one
the
more
worst joke
like
I've
that-
ever heard.
Obviously,
Dylan,
I don't get it.
That was worse than the friggin' Suicide Squad joke you made during, what was it, No One's House? God damn,
that was a
dude.
rough one.
I don't remember that. At
I didn't
all.
understand at first, and now I get. All right.
I just remember
Sorry about
hating
that.
him
Well,
more.
I know we're gonna end this up now.
If you're still listening to this, you can vote on. I'll leave the links in the description with bonuslives.com, Too Spooky, and the Minute Mirror Form.
For their favorite one of our podcasts.
Well, the poll. There's a poll I made
Right,
where
for
it
our
said,
favorite.
which story do you think is better?
Okay.
Squidward Suicide or Dead Bart?
Oh, okay.
Right now, on last check, there hasn't been too many votes for it. I believe on Too Spooky and Midnight Marinara, Dead Bart is winning. And on bonuslives.com, Squidward Suicide is winning.
Okay.
So we have that. And you can vote right now if you would like. And comment what you feel about Dead Bart or Squidward Suicide. Is there...
Subscribe.
Talk about why they're both terrible.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you want a pizza roll.
Totino's,
I don't know.
sponsored.
I don't know. This just like
This actually was a lot shorter than I remember.
this left a.
Yeah, this kind of feels like it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and no one even wants to talk about it.
And this is the first one we're recording today, and you want to record more, and I hope we get a good one because I'm already exhausted.
Alright.
This story's a dick.
Okay. Well, this has been John, a.k.a. the Skillfully. And if you like Dead Bart, then comment and tell us why you think it's good.
And like,
Dan?
And I will post a comment underneath you explaining why you are fucking wrong. No, in terms of just final thoughts, I don't know. There's something about Squidward Suicide that I liked better. Might just be the description of everything, despite it being,
Might be the early
crappy
description.
and unnecessary. At least they described,
Gives you a nice setting.
the kids, the dead kids, and what was going on in the episode. This is like, Bart dies, and then everybody's sad and skinny, and it's like, okay.
I look forward to not having to read a lost episode again.
We might have to in the future. Just not now.
Don't you say that to me.
Nate?
I have no words. So.
I don't even think the mic picked that up.
Yeah, that was very cool.
I have no words.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Now you do. Dylan?
Don't have a cow, man.
Okay.
And on that amazing joke, we're going to sign out.
Sorry.
See you in the next one, guys.